All right, everybody, welcome back to Success on the Spectrum. Lindsay here with Chey, Morgan, and Brittany, and this will be our first full episode. So we are going to have a little bit of structure and some segments because all four of us would be chaos without it. On that note, this is a podcast for neurodivergent women, so please pardon the ums and the repeats and the mind trailing because that is what we do and that's why we're here. Another little quick shout out very quickly. We've had a lot of really great feedback and some really good tips, tricks, and all kinds of things sent our way from multiple people. Lastro Lopez, Rick Martinez, all of you guys, you've been fantastic. On that note, if you guys find any value at all in anything that is said in this segment, please take 2 seconds and share this episode into your Instagram story or onto your TikTok. Put us somewhere where other people can discover us because we really like to keep this conversation going. And if you hit that little bell in the bottom corner of your screen right now, that's going to notify you every time that we post something new. On that note, welcome to our full episode 1. We are going to kick this off with talking about some support systems. That's going to be our first segment. And the support systems that we're going to talk about today are going to be our morning routines. How each of us start the day, I think, is pretty different, but also very important. And I'm just going to call out a random order of people on this one. So we're going to do Morgan, then Chey, and then Brittany, and then myself. Go for it, Morgan.
Okay, I don't even remember when morning routine first became super important to me, but it always pretty much has been like high school activities, early morning, and it just has always been. I'm the annoying morning person, and I usually I was on the phone even this morning with Lindsay. I don't even know what time I called her, 5:15, and I'm just awake, thinking about whatever it is I'm thinking about, but to keep myself grounded, big part of my morning routine is doing some sort of meditation, collecting my thoughts. I used to be really reactive in the morning to things that stressed me out. So really grounding before I dive into emails, dive into messages, but it's very similar every single morning. Make some sort of hot beverage, typically not coffee, tea, or some sort of chai latte, and then meditation, a little bit of journaling. Sometimes there's a workout. It just depends on my mood. If I wake up early enough and I don't have meetings before then, but I think really just grounding is the biggest thing, and not getting all the way up here, as far as where I'm tuning in before I again dive into the day. So I need 3 hours in the morning before I start the day. So the people who sleep in and can go straight into the day, cool. I'm very jealous of that, but I would be a really unpleasant person to be around. So
really not that healthy to do that, to jump out of bed and just go to work. It's really not healthy.
No. And we learn a lot of that from, the industries we're in, whatever. But I think if you look at the successful people in general, everyone has some sort of Hermosi always says, you don't need the morning routine, but it's okay, but we're not rolling out of bed and diving into the day. So, but yeah, I think
neurodivergents aren't.
Yes. Yeah. But I love the idea of having a support system, even to call in the morning, a friend. If I'm feeling uninspired, if I want to catch up, that's the time that I use to do those things as well. Call somebody I care about. I talked to Ashley this morning, Ashley Bly. And I think reaching out to the people who inspire you is a good way to start the day.
So. Morgan, don't call me at 7 a.m. I love you so much.
I know who to call and who not to call.
Yeah. That's awesome. Right? Yeah. So
my morning routine, I don't talk to people.
Maybe we should leeway into that, because
there you go.
That's the complete opposite.
We'll take Brittany then. Brittany, what is share your morning routine?
Shey's turn.
What do you got, Chey?
Okay, I can go. It's so funny because listening to Morgan be like, I can't be up here. That is exactly where I need to be in the morning. I need to get up and I listen to the craziest music in the gym and like I am getting my day started. But that's with ADHD, like you need that stimulation. I have like meditation is like such a beautiful, powerful thing. Unless you have severe ADHD, and then you're like, how do you turn this thing off? So like, what? Be silent. What do you mean? So anyway.
Well, and more so too, though, and I'm not ever going to be bashing your morning routine ever, but I had to learn to be this way because I would be so high strung that it's not easy for me to be down here. I'm always up here. Yeah. Just to clarify.
It wasn't that bashing your morning routine. I'm like, that's great. We're just so different. But so for my morning routine, with ADHD, you have to do the same thing every day. And I don't want to just lock that into only ADHD because I think that this can be across the board, but you have to do the same thing every day. Otherwise it gets lost in the sauce. Like anytime I go on vacation or go on home for Christmas break and I don't do this for a few days, I will then probably not do it for a month and a half before I get back into it. It's wild. So for me, I have to wake up at the same time every day, which is about 6:15, 6:30. I put on my gym clothes that I got out the night prior and it's already ready to go. I brush my hair, brush my teeth, wash my face, take my supplements, go to the gym, listen to some hardcore rap and EDM, work out, come home, rinse off, change, do my hair, do my skincare, put makeup on, eat breakfast, take my medicine, which for me is Adderall. And then I always open my blinds and then turn a YouTube background on my TV and then I go to work. So having the sunshine in my apartment is crucial. And for some weird reason, staring at my TV screen when it's just black, it like makes my stomach hurt. I'm like, I can't do it. So I always have like a moving beach, or when it's cold outside, I'll have like a fireplace on or whatever, but I need something pretty and just like something going on back there. This is my first time ever working from home, which has been awesome. I love it, but I'm used to traveling for work and also working literally outside, knocking doors. And so I try to find ways to feel like I'm still outside and have some sort of movement around me. So
I love that. I'm similar. Brittany, what you got?
Oh my gosh. I just want to piggyback off two things that Chey said. Well, to piggyback off of it necessarily, I'll just get into my thing and then I'll point it out because so much of what Chey said resonated so hard with me. I feel like we have a lot of the same like ADHD. What do you call them? Quirks? Is that?
Yeah, totally.
Right. Stuff. My morning routine: 4 a.m. Wake up, cold plunge, run 13 miles. No, I'm just kidding. My morning routine starts the night before, and this is one of the things that I wanted to point out with Chey. It's probably been like a couple years before I read this. I think it was like Atomic Habits maybe that I read. And that's when it clicked for me. And I was like, I'm trying to do all this stuff in the morning, but it's like so much of that can be set before, way easier. Like my gym clothes, everything set up the night before. Like here's my biggest thing. And if anybody listening has heard about my whiteboard, like sorry, but you're gonna hear about it again. I have a whiteboard that I get at a dollar store. And it sits right in front of my master bathroom. And the night before, I literally write out like number 1, number 2, number 3 that I have to do the next day. And then I have like a little section on the bottom where it's like things I have to do, but not necessarily that day. So literally the number 1 thing on there is always to work out. And you know, some days I like if I'm sick or something like that, don't. So the past couple days I've been sick, so I have not been working out. But so anyway, the number 1 thing is to work out. And like my morning routine basically is just centered on the fact of I have to go and do that first. So I literally just get up, I get moving, and then I go to the gym. And the gym is only time for the most part where I'm actually listening to music, because the other time that I listen to any kind of like auditory stimuli. And that's another thing I'll get into really quick. It's podcasts, audiobooks, but the gym is like my time to listen to crazy people music. And so funny that you said that, Chey, because literally I'm just like, if people knew what I was listening to and then like paired it with like how I look or like my face or whatever, they'd be like, oh, are you okay?
While you're wearing a Metallica shirt right now.
Right, that part. Like, wait a minute, no, this tracks.
She's like, I'm gonna start expressing.
I don't work out in this shirt, though, to be fair.
Yeah, true.
But anyways, yeah. After I work out, then I feel like there is blood in my brain, and then everything else like can kind of follow suit around that, because one of my important like values is fitness and being able to constantly progress in that way, whether or not I feel like I look like I work out or like whatever, like the aesthetics have kind of taken a back seat. Like the point is like, I have to get moving. I have to work out. Like keeping moving, keeping my brain sharp is like tandem. I can't separate those things. After that, like that's kind of where the day will take me. Like it depends, it used to be way more structured because I knocked doors for solar. So it was wake up, everything set out the night before, and then eat breakfast, hit the doors. Now I might be hitting the doors. I might be doing like content stuff. I might be doing like, reaching out to different chambers of commerce and like all that kind of stuff. So it's like way more unstructured now than it used to be.
But you keep yourself structured because you have that self-awareness and you know what you need, which is so important. And then something else that you said is it's not moving your body. You've drifted away from it being completely aesthetic. We're all in our 30s, by the way. And I think that that's something that just happens with age. Like when you're younger, it's like, I'm in the gym because I'm supposed to look a certain way. And it's just like all those fads that are going away. Like if you look at the back of almond milk and like all the crazy stuff that's in there, and people are literally going back to cow's milk because it's just milk. And then people are doing all these crazy butter alternatives. Well, you look at actual good quality, just butter, it's so much better for you.
Big shout out to Cass Diaz, who has literally started making her own milk and milking her own almonds, because I had this exact conversation with her when her and Mo were at my house.
Yeah. And so just like with age, we're like drifting away from like all that trendy shit. And we're like, okay, why are we actually in the gym? It's for longevity, to sustain our lives and to improve our mental health and stuff like that.
Well, not only that, but like for me personally, like if you guys know my story, I was 220 pounds when I was 15 years old. Like fitness for me was a crazy journey. And when it was literally my whole identity time, because I had actually like lost some weight and I got into fitness. I became a trainer way back in the day in Chicago, and I was a competitive power lifter. Like all I did was work and work out. And so over the past couple of years of like planning a wedding, getting married, moving a couple times, starting two businesses, like you get out of that routine. That was the other thing I want to piggyback off is like, if you're away and you get out of your routine, getting back into it is so hard. And having the grace with yourself to be like, okay, that was my routine when I was like this person and these were my priorities. Now the only priority is not working out and like being a fitness person or like competing in powerlifting. How do I make sure that I work this into my life with my new values, my new priorities, like my new time restraints, but
I think it's okay also not to have like I don't put like, even my couple first years in entrepreneurship, I was putting so much pressure on myself to have a standard of a morning routine so bluntly. And now, quite frankly, like if I wake up without an alarm, I usually typically am ready to go when I do wake up, because
Morgan wakes up with birds chirping and lifting her bed sheets off of her.
I want it to be, I want to put priority on a morning routine, but I'm going to show myself grace when like I have a tired day. I'm not going to be like, oh, I didn't do my morning routine, so my whole day is shot. It's like, oh, I'm getting started a little bit later. So being able to like show myself grace with that, like if I'm not up at 5 a.m., I'm not a failure. but like I used to think that way. Like, hey, I need to be like, this is what makes people successful. I need to be up at 5 a.m. I need to be up at 6 a.m. You're still going to be just as productive if you wake up and like start a little bit later, you know?
So I'm going to wrap this section actually with completely disrupting everything you guys just said a little bit.
Lindsay, no.
Lindsay.
So my morning routine is a science experiment. Every day it's a science experiment, and I am constantly looking for little things that I can tweak to get me to be my most balanced, most productive, living in the energy space that I like to live in. Mm-hmm. That's really what my aim is. It's a specific energy space where I'm getting entirely through the day. My task list is never fully done, but feeling like I have taken a chunk out of the responsibilities of my day that I can be proud of while still maintaining my energy from point A to point B, because my days are long. My days are normally 4:30 to 11. So I don't sleep a lot. So I don't have the waking up feeling refreshed very often. This does not turn off when I'm sleeping. And I, to this day, no matter the amount of therapists, no matter anything that I've done to help myself sleep without basically making myself a chemical zombie, this does not slow down when I go to sleep. And you can track how active my brain is through my watch that I wear at night. So it's an interesting thing. What I have done, like any good science experiment, is I have found the constants that I need daily to reach this base energy level, and everything else is just a tinker one way or the other. But here's my basic things. I take a moment for gratitude every day. I do feel like that changes your brain chemistry. And it's normally the first thing that I do, apart from like reverse engineering my dreams and making sure I'm psychologically okay. But gratitude is the first one. And I have an interesting go at that because I find multiple things to be grateful for. And I end it on being grateful for something that I shouldn't be. So I rewire a negative in my brain. And from there, like having that little chemical burst in the morning before I actually make myself physically active has been massively helpful. The second thing that I do every day is I photosynthesize every morning. So whether that's sitting in front of my window as the sun's coming up and like capturing the rays, or my favorite when it's warm enough is barefoot walking through the grass in my backyard to water my vegetable garden, because I'm getting grounded and I'm getting the sun at the same time. The third thing that is a non-negotiable for me is the gym. And I don't go every day because I know that I'm 40 and my recovery rate, especially with not sleeping, is not fantastic. So it's not every day for me anymore. It used to be 7 days a week, like religiously. And now I go until I feel like I have expelled enough of my anxious energy to sit in the energy realm that I want to be in for the rest of the day. Some days that's 15 minutes walking on a treadmill at a reasonable pace. Some days it's 3 hours of dissociation and people wondering in the gym who hurt you. It changes. And I think the point that I wanted to make is that you can have a very set series of things that you do for yourself for your best being, right? But I think probably one of the most important things for all of us is leaving space for growth in that, and making sure that you're covering all your bases, which we all do collectively. We've all just given our stories, and each one of us focuses on the mental, like the psychological, the emotional, the physical, and the spiritual. We all do in our own ways. So I think that's an important thing. But that's my morning routine.
Lindsay, I have a question for you as someone who has autism. How did it feel to have to change your morning routine as you got older, or life shifted or whatever? Because from what I understand, autism is very fixated on things being the same. So like, how did that go for you psychologically?
So I'm not comfortable with change, and most people that know me personally know that real well. Last minute changes, forget it. I'm just not going to go. So the key or the trick that I found for myself is to keep it in a consistent state of change. And that is that is the static thing, is that it's always changing. So I know that that's never going to change. So
And
we
I
just
feel like that's
You say that because anybody that knows Lindsay knows that she is queen of many things, the queen of the pivot.
Yeah.
When I feel like I have that very in common with Lindsay, because like truly like understanding the change, that being okay with the change, because again, when I normally get taken out of my routine or anything's off kilter, it literally used to set me in a frenzy. And now I am just so much more capable of just handling the consistent changes than I used to be. It's just being more aware of it in general. Like I never knew that other people, had that same.
Yeah, you just rewire where you see it from.
Yeah.
You don't have to stay uncomfortable. Just write it in a way. Brittany said our pilot, we write our own realities. And I mean, that's really what I'm doing. Is my autistic brain loves the idea of science, right? So that's where I base it.
Cool.
That's what I was going to say actually too, before Chey jumped in, is that thing about what you said, Lindsay, is that you use means and everything else to create experiments, and then you find the constants in those experiments. And that's so funny because I do something very similar, especially like with my supplement routines or anything. Like I literally think that any problem can be settled with some kind of supplement. Like literally, instead of like putting some Windex on it, or literally like, have you tried
2.5?
Yeah, you know what I mean? And so and finding the constants in like what actually does work for you. And you don't need a lot of sleep, but what kind of sleep do you need? And like we're very, very data driven, and the past couple weeks especially have been way more productive because I finally got an Aura ring. Like I used to wear a bio strap and track all my metrics, and then I was like, okay, if I take GABA versus this, like how is my sleep, even though I'm only sleeping for 6 hours and I know that I'm waking up constantly thinking. But the next day I feel okay, and I can track those metrics now. And I did not have anything to track because my dog ate my bio strap. But finally getting like back to an Aura ring and like being able to track all my metrics, dude, it absolute game changer. And we hear this all the time, especially in like door to door. It's like, if you're not tracking, then like you're not, what was the thing? Anything you don't track, then you don't succeed. Or I don't remember what it was, but something like that. You can cut this part out, but anything that you don't track, like you can't improve. That's what it was. Yeah. Anything you're not tracking, you're not improving. So
I'd be interested. I've never actually tracked my sleep, but like I zombie sleep every night. Like the minute.
Yeah.
Morgan, you're a sleeper. Morgan, you're a sleeper.
You have no problem sleeping.
No.
And I sometimes wonder, I'm like, I feel like with how stressed out I am, I should not be able to sleep right now, but unbothered really at the end of the day.
Yep.
So, but like, I'm like, am I just like, not in REM, but I'm pretty sure I am. So we'll see. We'll have to track it.
All right. Speaking of tracking, we're going to move into our next little segment right now. And we came up with this one because there's a lot of data. We're all data driven, as Brittany just said, but we came up with this one because a lot of us, almost everybody on this call, has been through some form of social testing one way or another. And that's where you see something, you're like, wait a minute, is that me? A lot of us, I mean, if you've been drawn to this podcast, it's likely you've seen something across your TikTok or one of those platforms that has pointed you into the neurodivergent arena. And here we are. So one of the things that we were looking at yesterday on our prep call, because we do a prep call every week because we are 4 neurodivergent women. And if we don't prep for this, nobody's going to be able to track what we're saying. So on that, I posed this question to the ladies yesterday to prove the point in this study that I was reading about. And so we're going to do a little word association for everybody. So if you're sitting out there, play along. I'm going to post the
comments,
question.
actually. That would be super fun for us too.
Yeah, put it in the comments. Yeah, what your word is. And do it right now before we actually finish. So like as you're watching this, throw it in there real quick. So is it just me or is this segment? And we're going to do some word association. So I'm going to say one word and all of the ladies are going to take a turn telling me what their word was. And they're going to say their word that was yesterday, but it all proves the same point. So if I give you the word umbrella, what is your word association, Chey?
Mine was Banksy art.
Banksy art. Okay. And Morgan, what was yours?
Like a group of businesses under one umbrella, kind of that kind of
Corporation. Yep.
yes, an umbrella of businesses.
And Britt, what was yours?
The Morton Salt Lady.
Right. And mine was also Umbrella Corporation. So to put some backing to this, and I was trying to give everybody a moment out there to answer, but the neurotypical response generally is rain. And what it goes to show you is that the neurodivergent brain spends so much time in a pattern recognition space that we are so far past the point of rain. We're literally finally, and you guys can, ladies, answer this if this is what you did, because this is what it does for me, is my brain immediately files through all of the things that I've seen and heard with umbrella. I don't think about when I'll use one.
Yeah.
My brain immediately goes to the things that I've intook about an umbrella.
And here's what I think is really interesting about this thing about that is like the pattern recognition portion. Why would we think when that's like the obvious thing and that's already like there's no interest in the obvious, right? So it's like my brain I didn't even think about rain. Like it didn't even cross my mind. And I feel like a lot of this, you look for something that's just more interesting than the obvious. Like you look for the patterns that are more.
Do you use a umbrella when it rains normally?
Right, but we don't go to usefulness. We go to brain recognition and what's been stored.
Yeah, but just in curiosity, does anybody in this podcast use an umbrella when it rains?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just wondering.
Oh yeah.
Yes. I don't.
How much time I spend on my hair?
I just don't even know. I don't even own an umbrella. I don't think I own a sunbrella to protect me from the sun while I'm knocking.
Well, that it just poses a good point because I remember first seeing that Banksy painting and it was a long time ago. And I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. And that was totally stored as umbrella in my brain. Because it's like a multicolored painting and it's
I know what you're talking about.
Umbrella. Yeah. It's a very famous painting. And that's just where I went. And yeah, rain did not even cross my mind.
Yeah, we have a little library recall button.
Did we pass or did we fail the test?
It's not a pass or fail, but if you are out there watching this and you didn't say rain, you actually had a thought process to get you from umbrella to your answer, might be a tiny bit of social proof that maybe watch a few more of our episodes and see how many other things we have in common. So on that, word association, and we're going to throw a few more of these on the back end of this call. If you guys have not discovered more inside of our channel yet, you can go in. One of the things that we do is at the end of these calls, we will actually turn the recording back on and we will just let our brains digest all of the things that were just said. And we let it go. So it's going to be chaos. It's going to be funny. There might be some cuss words, but we're calling it the Yappy Hour. And you can find the links for those right underneath these episodes on our channel. So that brings us into our next segment, which is going to be the data dump. We are all data-driven individuals. It's been said multiple times on this stream so far, and I would bet if you're watching this, you probably are too. So every week we're going to take turns. Each lady will, we're just going to give you a quick lesson on whatever thing we are learning about right now. So you may get psychological stuff, you may get garden tips, you may get, stuff about the infrastructure in Giza from, hundreds of years ago. We don't know what you're going to get. So tune in every week. Yes. So today we're going to have Chey sharing something with us that we actually, this was a topic of conversation at our last like little retreat that we did. And we made a fun little discovery, and she's going to share a little bit more with you on what that is now.
Awesome. Thanks, Lindsay. Yeah, so I am super excited about this. So I have been a Taylor Swift fan, or as we like to call ourselves, a Swiftie, for 18 years. Now, if you know anything about ADHD, having anything hold our attention for 5 minutes is difficult. Having something to hold my attention for 18 years is unheard of. And so I started thinking about this in adulthood. What is it about this music artist that has captivated me so consistently for so long? And so I did some research, and I found that there's actually a lot of studies about ADHD in correlation with being a Taylor Swift fan. And so I've compiled that information. I'm going to share it with you guys. And it's like, even right now, I'm so excited to talk about this because it just like fires me up the way that she has been able to accomplish this. And so the first thing is going to be emotional intensity and hyperfixation. So many people with ADHD experience emotions more intensely, and Taylor Swift's music is deeply emotional and relatable. And it's her ability to put feelings into words, and it can be comforting for those who struggle to articulate their own emotions, because sometimes your emotions can be so big and we don't know how to break that down. But listening to her music can be like, that's exactly what I was trying to say, because that's exactly how I was feeling. And the ADHD brain also hyperfixates on interests. And Taylor has an extensive discography with over 150 songs. She does Easter eggs and hidden meanings in her lyrics and music and her music videos. It's really, really engaging to do deep dives and analyze her moves to figure out what she's going to do next. She's also fantastic at storytelling and lyrical detail. So people with ADHD often have these racing thoughts and really vivid imaginations. And Taylor's lyrics are rich in imagery and storytelling, which can be super stimulating and engaging for people with ADHD minds. And songs like All Too Well, the 10-minute version specifically, have intricate details that reward close listening, because you know, when you have ADHD, we want to hyper focus. And so for 10 whole minutes, we can pick out like who the song is about, what this metaphor is about. And like, it's so rewarding when you're like, I was right. Yeah, I was right. She said it in an interview, and like, this is so exciting, you know? And she also has this creativity and restless energy where she's known for constantly reinventing herself. She switched genres. She keeps things fresh. She, you know, is able to pump out music like nobody's business. And something that resonates with people who crave novelty and you know, struggle with monotony is that constant feed of content, you know, and her ability to write songs at just that extreme pace. It's like once you're kind of getting over this new album, oh, well, you got a new one. So, and then, you know, on top of that, if, you know, you've listened to this album for a while, you can actually go back to an old one and you're like, oh my gosh, this one she released when I was 16 and I just went through a breakup, and it brings back all these old feelings, and very stimulating, very emotional, you know, and then just a couple more things here. So she has relatable themes of overstimulation and rejection sensitivity. So 3 songs that come to mind are The Archer, Nothing New, and Antihero. So these songs touch on themes of insecurity, self-doubt, feeling out of place, which is an extremely common experience for people with ADHD, especially regarding that rejection sensitivity. We're oftentimes misdiagnosed, underdiagnosed, or not diagnosed at all, or unmedicated. And so people think that we're annoying, we're chaotic, we are unorganized, we're impulsive. And so we kind of get put down. And so naturally ADHD people have this really early on sense of being rejection sensitivity, and having a billionaire, beautiful, down to earth, kind person write and sing lyrics that you can relate to, you just have that relatability and that feeling that you're not alone. And it makes you feel like, if Taylor Swift can feel this way, I can literally conquer the world. You know, I can do freaking anything. And so, you know, she has lyrics about overthinking, impulsivity, regret. You know, those things all align with ADHD. And if I can turn anyone to a Swiftie, a song that would be correlated to that is called Would've, Could've, Should've on her Midnights album.
I love how you know all the lyrics, all the words, literally like theme nighted, went to her concert. Like, but I think I have a newfound respect for your love for her now from after hearing this, to be honest with you.
Oh my God, that makes me so happy.
You want to like try and get into her more. I've tried. I love her. I think she's cute. She seems like a really
I grew up on like
friend, but
yeah.
I just listen to different kinds of music, you know, but I feel like we just need to have a wine and Taylor Swift night. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll get it.
I would love it.
I'm gonna just come over and you can start from the beginning of the discography and we'll just see what happens. You never know.
She's already too excited.
That would be so much joy.
The anticipation of leading up to this said night is, I don't know.
In honor of transparency, we must say we are not sponsored by Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yeah. But we are from Kansas City, so if Taylor Swift wants to get involved.
So people often think of her music as like, shake it off, hoo, hoo, hoo. I hate that song. I don't like it. That's not my vibe. You guys got to get into, she has some absolutely gut-wrenching lyrics. It's beautiful. I love sad music. But anyway, so this one I was really excited to talk about, because this is what I think engages me the most. Is she has extremely well thought out and engaging marketing and what we call an Easter egg. So the ADHD brain, it loves puzzles and being rewarded for solving a puzzle. And Taylor is known for embedding secret messages and hints and codes. I mean, she'll do it 2 years out. She'll have
anything embedded in her most recent album about the Super Bowl?
No, unfortunately.
Okay, asking.
The Chiefs are going to win. So, like for example, she's doing all these re-releases, and in the Midnights album, she has this song called Bejeweled. And at the end of the music video, she's holding a coffee cup, and one thumb fingernail is painted blue, the other is painted black, and there is, in the steam art, is a clock. And so we were able to figure out that her re-release of her blue album, which is called 1989, was going to be released on, it was like 2/18 or 2/6, because that's like where she was holding her thumb. And then the Reputation Taylor's version is going to be released on this date, because of like, it's crazy. Like, and she does it.
The Illuminati vibes are getting me interested.
Yep, we're getting there now.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's so cool. And so
yeah,
like,
and I think my brain goes to like, that's so complex.
It is so complex. And she will do it 2 years out. It's insane. It's so fucking cool. And so, you know, the anticipation and like the detective work, clearly, obviously very stimulating. And you know, the last thing I'll say is the Swifties and the ADHD community, it actually very much overlaps. And so many Swifties who have ADHD report feeling deeply understood by her music, and often hyper focus on following her career, learning her lyrics, analyzing her every move, and social media communities that discuss her work often reflect on the high energy and rapid thought patterns that are familiar to those with ADHD. And so if you didn't know that those two things overlapped, now you know.
Now you know. I love it. I love it so much. Okay. So we do have a tiny bit of a time constraint this morning. So we are going to skip one of our normal segments, but I'm just going to give you a highlight as to what that's going to be, because we're going to talk about it next week. And I'm just going to make sure everybody's not muted right now, and we will see if this is actually a real deal phenomenon.
Phenomena.
There you go. So echolalia, we will be talking about that on next week's episode. And that is the phenomenon of neurodivergent people that are incapable of suppressing the urge to repeat or finish melodies or song lyrics when they hear them externally. And that
We're all
is
just puppets.
We're all just puppets. The writers are lazy. So that will be on next week's episode. But we are going to talk about one more thing really quick before we log off and then log into our yappy hour. Brittany posed a question on our prep call yesterday, and I think very good question. And I think it's something that not only neurodivergence, I think we're all very self-aware of when we do it, but I think it might be a good idea to put this information out for all the neurotypical people out there that get stuck in these conversations with us that think that we're not paying attention. So Brittany, if you could pose your question about your conversation with your very nice gentleman.
Okay. So specifically in the context of like networking and small talk, I find that I will be listening and making eye contact directly with a person, and I'll be hyper focused on trying to absorb everything that they're telling me. They're genuinely nice. You know, they could be a great connection. I'm really excited to be there, to meet them. And my brain just starts like thinking about completely different things. And I find myself not focusing on what they're actually saying. And then I kind of like dissociate. And then it could be 30 seconds, it could be a minute, it could be 3 minutes, and that person's still talking. And then I'll be like, oh my gosh, I didn't catch anything of what that person was saying. And so I hyperfixate on like trying to pay attention. And the more I try to pay attention, the harder it is. And I was just wondering, like, is that just me? Or does anybody else have like, what did you call it, Lindsay? Dissociation and dialogue?
Yeah, so it's a very common thing. It's called dissociation in dialogue. At least that's what my therapist and that's how we converse about it. Because I'm very guilty of this too. And you'll see me leave. Like my eyes are
I was gonna say,
I don't know if I'm that obvious, but like
it is. You'd be shocked to know. I mean, that's why I think this is a good message for the neurotypicals to receive. The dissociation in dialogue is actually an end result of our keen ability with pattern recognition. So what's actually happening is that there aren't a lot of conversations that we have regularly that we don't have over and over again, especially in a networking realm. And for a lot of us, when we can spend 30 seconds with a person, those of us that have really keened in our social strategy, basically on how we intake people, you know the person. They don't even have to tell you all of the things about them, but you can feel exactly who they are. And your brain knows where this conversation is headed. So it checks out. It's already done this. You're not keeping it actively engaged. So it's going to go do whatever else it needs to do. What I would challenge you with, Britt, is next time this happens, pay attention to what exactly your thoughts go to. I have found now that I'm being more cognizant of it, it ends up going to things on my task list. Mm-hmm. My time here is not being well enough spent. My brain is doing this without me. My time here is not being well enough spent. So I need to go take care of these things.
And also just to touch on like the energy piece of it that Lindsay, even from the beginning with support systems, like I have from therapy and from practicing meditation and presence, like I truly, it helps me not do that, because I used to do it even to like reps. I think I'll throw like Nick out there as an example. Like he'll be talking to me and I'll be thinking about the 25 things that I need to do. Right. But sometimes, yes, it is an ADD issue. Yes, it's a neurodivergent issue, but also too, there are certain practices like, again, meditation, yoga, all those things I'm intentionally doing because that's the only way to help me practice presence. And And it, for me, it really was just like even presence, like in my relationship, like when we're together, like I know Chey, you have the little dock where you use your phone and like turn your apps off, but like practicing presence, and like that is partly like why the grounding and like the meditation helps so much, because otherwise I'm all like this all the time from boom,
because
boom, boom, boom.
it's something that we have to practice, because naturally we do what Brittany was talking about. And like, I mean, when I was running a door-to-door sales team and had 65 reps, like, God bless them, shout out Worldwide, that was my team. They learned me. And so, because at first I would be like, get to the point. I don't have time for the fluff. Like, get to the point, because I'm not listening to you anymore. So now or not now, but after we had worked together for a while, they would just be like, Chey, this. And I'd be like, thank you. Here's a solution. Because I cannot do the fluff. I cannot do the fluff. You will lose me, and I'm not listening to you anymore.
Well, and it's even like in yoga, when they're like, okay, Shavasana, like I was telling Lindsay this the other day, let all the thoughts just float away from your mind. And there are times where I go straight to, I need to blah, 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 and I need to do this, and I need to do that. And I have to pull myself back into like being present and like not thinking about the to-do list. So it's like an intentional effort at some points, where it's like, it's not always easy, obviously, but like, it's like an actual, and it intentionally has to happen. Whereas some people are able to just presently listen without interrupting, without thinking about other things. I don't know how, but.
So I'm hoping in this that this helps us find a middle ground between neurotypical and neurodivergent communication styles, because that's really what we're talking about at the base of it. And Morgan, what you're doing is you're completely changing your brain pattern to fit into the neurotypical realm.
So I don't feel rude. Like I'm like,
right.
Yeah.
Which is the rejection sensitivity. So I think, I am truly hoping that more and more people tuning into these conversations with us will help bridge the gap between the two. You know, the more the neurotypicals know about us, the more we know about them, like the better we can work together. And as all of us have already covered in the pilot episode, when you find that people that understand who you are psychologically, your entire professional world changes. So I think finding a middle ground between us is, for me personally, that is my goal for this.
And it's not always so much changing too, but it's like, and you know, you always hope that other people are trying to find a level of self-awareness that we're trying to find. Like we
do hope that.
We hope that. And I feel like I've been met a lot of times where I'm like, why? I have this thought where I'm like, why do I have to have this level of self-awareness when it doesn't seem like anyone else has to? Because it took me a really long time to get to the point where I had a level of self-awareness of how I was making people feel, my directness, my interrupting, my trailing off into thoughts or whatever. It a lot of times was like, oh, that's so rude. You need to do this because that's rude. You need to do this because that's rude. And it's like, okay, or it's like, let's learn each other's patterns.
I was gonna say, you don't have those comments in discussions with neurodivergent people. And
no,
you don't have to filter or mask.
No. And then, but also too, like learning, like you're saying, your professional career changes, like the people that I'm around know how I am. And so like, I think when, like you're saying, when you're around people that can understand, and both people are met with a mutual respect of like, hey, I'm going to be self-aware, you're going to be self-aware, and be able to have conversations about those things. But yeah, it's an effort. It takes like a constant effort and level of like.
I like that too. Like, you're going to be self-aware and I'm going to be self-aware, because it can't be, hey, world, conform to my neurodivergence.
Yes.
We also have to put effort into helping ourselves, healing ourselves, finding solutions so that we can function in the regular world.
Yeah. We have to make an arena. We have to help build the arena for the neurodivergence that are undiagnosed, because we have the self-awareness now, right? Those of us that have been diagnosed are on our journeys. We understand what it is. Neurotypicals, because it is such a mass exploding, it's really kind of an epidemic, but it's not an epidemic because more and more people are becoming autistic. It's an epidemic because more and more people are actually getting the ability to get tested now. And I think that as those numbers grow, we really will start to see an evening in our playing field. I personally believe that this is an evolutionary thing. I think that as I think 100 years ago, the people that led the world were the ones that could get the information, could get the data. It was the people that held the knowledge, right? Now, every piece of knowledge we've ever had is at the end of every cell phone. I think that our brains are evolving so that we have the ability to intake that much data and watch for the patterns and lead from the front of the information intake. I think that that's what's happening, and that's why more and more people.
To be able to dissect all of overstimulation into what's actually important. And that comes back to what we were talking about, like the dissociation and dialogue, because like we mentioned yesterday, that doesn't happen when we're entrenched in like a deeply stimulating conversation. You know, like I don't really feel that way on the calls when I'm talking to you guys. It's like, I'm like, oh, what do you do? Like, oh, that's cool. How long you been doing that? What got you into like, oh my gosh, you know, it's like I'm going
like, do you feel like we're connecting on a conscious level? Like,
right. Like I feel like it feels like a game of pretend. And then I get like super, I'm like, oh, can you tell how hard I'm trying to like be engaged in this completely useless conversation? And then I feel guilty because I'm like, this conversation isn't useless because this person is super nice and they're taking the time to genuinely connect with me and blah, blah, blah. And then my brain is like, no, this is bullshit. None of this.
Because we don't need that.
Like,
Yeah.
We just connect.
I don't need to know any of this. Like,
but I also love like the breakthroughs too that like I have had because of like being aware of these types of things and being able to have these like open dialogue conversations. Because there's this rep that I'm working with in the roof and solar world, and my old self would have been like, is this guy, like, what is his problem? Like, are you kidding me? Like, you're so annoying. Like, do you like, but now because I'm aware of the way my, like how I learn and the way that like he might learn is different. And so I'm able to meet him at such a really like special place where it's like, I want to encourage him and play to his strengths and like the things that he does really well, because everybody's hounding him so hard on the things that he's doing wrong. And I'm like, okay, well, I would rather have this guy doing all these like random things wrong and be like working his butt off than having somebody who's like not working at all and is like expecting me to meet them at, you know, any sort of level. So it's so special because it's like such a learning experience, like whether you're managing people or helping people learn a new skill, being able to recognize those things and be like encouraging to them and not like, so
understanding that people are different than us is very important, you know. And then last thing that I'll say on this is that it does prevent me from building relationships sometimes. My neighbors who live right here, beautiful couple, I am just obsessed with them. They are so sweet, but when they want to hang out and just like have dinner or something, I panic about the small talk and I dodge it. And I wish that I could I need to get over it and just do it, because I'm like, what if I get bored? What if I want to leave? And then I'm just like, dude, like, so it does kind of prevent me from connecting with people sometimes, you know? So,
and that'll happen in places where you don't feel understood more often than not. Yeah. So on that note, everybody, thank you for our tuning in for our first full episode. We have a lot more information coming for you next week. Please make sure you hit the little bell in the bottom corner so that you get notified every time that we post something. We are going to sign off of here and sign on to the Yappy Hour. You can also find those recordings on our channel right underneath this string of content. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, please. Any single one of you out there that just posts us to your story helps us get, you know, more and more people tuning in for the conversations, and the conversations are what is going to make a difference. So peace out, y'all. See you next week. Bye from the girls.
bye.